Well, this latest attack is certainly sparking questions around the world and concern about the rise in anti-Semitism. To discuss more, I'm joined in studio now by Jacob Dallal, a board member at Fighting Online Antisemitism, as well as a managing director at the Haifa University Comper Center on Anti-Semitism. Jacob, thanks for being with us on i24 News today.
Thank you.
Quite a lot for us to discuss, but I guess let's begin with Australia, as they're still beginning the funerals for some of these victims. Big questions remain in Australia about what happens next, because the Jewish community sounded the alarm time and time again. The warning signs were there. So when they say what needs to happen next for the Jewish community to feel safe, they already didn't feel safe. So what needs to happen next?
Well, I think the government and state, local, national leaders really need to take the community's concerns very, very seriously. Part of the problem is when you have people saying, globalize the Intifada, death to Israel, that translates in very short time to killing Jews. Because there is a conflation in everyone's mind between the Jewish state and Jews, between Zionists and Jews. So people who want to separate those two things as if there's a firewall between them are just kidding themselves. And it takes a bit of time, not long, 2 years in the case of Australia, for virulent anti-Israel, anti-Zionist activity to translate into dead Jews.
Anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, they cannot be separated. They have to be treated as one and the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been a big topic of discussion over the last couple of years until October 7th, because people were saying, well, you're criticizing Israel. Look, there are ways to criticize Israel's policy that are not hateful. And once you move into hate, anti-Semitism is hatred of Jews, then you're in a different space. The people that are saying Israel is acting like a Nazi aren't people that want a two-state solution, aren't people that want Palestinians to live in peace alongside Israelis. So there's a difference between criticism and hate. And I think that that's the way to frame it. Now, once you get into the hate field, then as you continue with the hate, as you continue with the hate speech, even though it's protected speech, it's going to lead over time to violence. And that's what people have to understand. So, once upon a time, Zionists weren't Jews, but now all of a sudden you say Zionists and people write Jews in parentheses. So that's that. Now it's all come together. October 7th brought this whole, and broke down that imagined firewall, and now it's all one big thing. And in Australia, now it means dead people.
And we've seen over the past 2 years the course of this war as those anti-Zionists use the war to fuel the anti-Semitism fire. But now there is a ceasefire. Did we know how this ceasefire would affect and will affect the impacts of anti-Semitism?
Well, there were two scenarios. One scenario is that, Israel's a lot less in the news. The fighting in Gaza has essentially ceased so that, things would calm down. But another scenario is that these things are taking a life of their own. And once they take on a life of their own, they begin to metastasize. And it's getting to a point where it's getting a little bit out of control. And you're seeing first day of Hanukkah in Australia, and later in the holiday in New York, a guy being knifed on the street in plain daylight in a clearly anti-Semitic attack. So these things have a way of contagion, of metastasizing, and that's where we're getting into a slightly dangerous period with this. So this is where we got to clamp down, especially government, especially law enforcement, to bring back a law and order and a sense of safety. If the communities don't feel safe, that's already a bad sign.
How does the government clamp down on this and help the community feel safe, especially when so much of it does stem from online anti-Semitism? There's a difference from the protests in the street, which there can be stricter regulations around those, but this ideology can spread so rapidly on the internet as well.
Right. So conspiracies once took a long time to move around, and now it takes almost nothing. And that's one of the challenges of the time. The technology makes everything so quick. One of the things is to really engage with the social media companies, and that's something we have to do and we are doing. But that's not enough. I think that we need to be focused on the whole from the beginning to the end, from the online comment until the man with the knife in the street. And I think a holistic approach is important. But the important thing also to understand is the problem obviously is for Jews because they're being killed or knifed, but it's also for the society. A society that allows this thing to happen has problems deeper within it. And so it's upon the society, it's upon the Australian people to look inward and to look outward and say, well, why is this happening to our Jewish residents? And the same thing in New York now. Why are these things happening? So that's where the onus is not only on the Jews, it's on the entire society to get this thing calmed down.
From your research, do you expect that these incidences are going to mark some sort of a change, or have we not hit that boiling point yet?
Well, we saw in Fighting Online Antisemitism actually an increase last month in the number of comments inciting to violence. So that sort of presaged what happened in Australia in a worrisome way. So so online is a good place to see how to check the temperature, but this whole thing has to be tamped down. It has to be tamped down, starting with the leadership, to the local leaders, to the society itself, to say, look, we embrace our Jews, we embrace the Jewish people, and we don't want this to happen. That way, it at least creates an environment that's less permissive of acts like this.
Such an important topic for us to discuss, especially in light of this week's events. Jacob Dallal, thanks so much for being with us on i24 News. Thank you.